Hi everyone, Matthew here at AAWeatherWatch, taking a look at the weekend's weather. Obviously the final weekend of April and the final couple of days of April too, Saturday the 29th and Sunday the 30th. Now the forthcoming weekend essentially producing a weekend of two halves. There will be some very decent weather through the rest of Friday and into Saturday, a lot of fine and dry weather, and satellite imagery essentially shows this little window of better weather again through the rest of Friday. You can see little in the way of any active weather across the country through the rest of Friday, and again these generally dry and settled conditions will continue through Sunday. However, I bring your attention to this quite significant and large region of cloud spiralling back into a region of low pressure within the North Atlantic, and it is this region of cloud which will become influential. A developing area of low pressure will bring increasingly wet and windy conditions across most areas through the second half of the weekend through Sunday, but essentially it will be a weekend of two halves. Make the most of a lot of dry weather on Saturday before this wet weather then arrives through Sunday. Just quickly coming back to the short term and taking a look at the weather through the rest of Friday. And the latest rainfall radar has shown a few scattered showers this morning, but as you can see most of those showers are generally fizzling away and dying out. An emphasis through the rest of Friday. A reasonable day, some brighter sunny spells. Yes, there will be variable amounts of cloud leading to cloudier periods at times too, but it will be a reasonable day, particularly compared with earlier in the week after the particularly cold and late winter-like weather that dominated through the first half of the week especially. So let's move on now and take a look at the all-important weather charts to put the details onto the forecast. But a quick look at Friday's weather chart, and it is this little region of high pressure just to the south of the country which is what is bringing the relatively dry and settled conditions through the rest of the day. Now we move into Saturday, perhaps a locally chilly start, but otherwise a reasonable day for much of the country. The region of cloud on satellite imagery, which I highlighted, is associated with this weather system here on Saturday's weather chart, which will try and move in from the west, but it will be a particularly slow process. As a result, again, many areas of the country will have a reasonable day on Saturday. A lot of dry weather with some bright or sunny spells, variable amounts of cloud at times, but there will be a developing fresh and eventually strong southerly wind ahead of these weather fronts. Now the further west you are, particularly across extreme western regions of the country, these weather systems will then approach later on in the day to bring some outbreaks of rain and showers here. But again, otherwise emphasis is on a reasonable day, a lot of fine and dry weather. However, we move into Sunday, and this is when the weather does become more substantially unsettled. As you can see, an area of low pressure is expected to develop just to the south or southwest of the country, and this will essentially lead to a particularly wet and windy day across much of the country. However, across the far north and northeast of the country, particularly across Ulster, this is where the driest weather will linger for longest, and again a reasonable day here compared with many central and southern areas which will see a lot of wet weather and also quite windy weather as well. We'll take a look at the temperatures now through the course of the coming weekend and the rest of Friday. Highs this afternoon around about 9, 10 or 11 degrees Celsius, so not feeling too bad in light winds and some sunshine. A locally chilly night tonight and through into Saturday, perhaps 3 or 4 degrees, but otherwise temperatures keeping well above freezing. Temperatures through the course of Saturday perhaps rising to around about 9 to 11 degrees Celsius, so not feeling too bad in some sunshine, but these temperatures are still a little bit below average for late April. Saturday night and through into Sunday, minimum temperatures probably no lower than around about 7 or 8 degrees, primarily due to the development of a stronger wind and the more unsettled conditions, and temperatures on Sunday probably highest across more northern areas of the country where the best of the weather will be. Ulster perhaps seeing temperatures of 10, 11 or 12 degrees, but as you can see from many central and southern areas, quite disappointing temperatures, highs just 7 to 10 degrees and feeling particularly cool, if not quite chilly, beneath the wet and windy weather as well. So let's take a look at our weekend weather summary, and it is a weekend of two halves, but there will also be some regional variations as well. So starting with Saturday, it will be dry for much of the country for much of the day with some bright or sunny spells, but it will become quite windy. However, the further west you are, particularly across extreme western areas, whilst much of the day will be dry, there will then be a risk of some rain and showers later on in the day, and again becoming windy here as well. Through into Sunday, the final day of April, and unsettled and wet and windy weather will essentially dominate for much of the country, particularly central and southern areas with some heavy rain or showers is possible at times, but the extreme north and northeast of the country probably holding on to a lot of dry weather for much of the day before rain potentially arrives here towards the end of the weekend. So that's all the details for the forthcoming weekend. As ever, I'll be back with you on Sunday and into Monday, taking a look at the opening week of May. So thanks for tuning in and enjoy the weekend.